This is an iHeart podcast.
Wells Fargo is proud of the important role they play for their customers, their communities, and the U.S. economy, covering more rural markets than many large banks and nearly 30% of branches in low or moderate income census tracts. Also proudly serving more than 10% of small businesses nationwide. Wells Fargo, the bank of doing. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/say-do. Wells Fargo Bank N.A., member FDIC.
Hello. Malcolm Gladwell here from Revisionist History. Did you know T-Mobile for Business has an award show specifically for their customers? It's happening October 20th in sunny Orlando, Florida, and I'm encouraging you, yes, you, to enter. This event honors outside-the-box thinking that changes industries, communities, and even the world. And if that doesn't sound great already, I'll be there as the keynote speaker. If your company did something next level using T-Mobile for Business, you're eligible. Entries close July 31st, so head to T-Mobile.com/enter to learn more and nominate your team.
Hello, from Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, and this is Womanica. This month we're talking about outsiders, women who marched to the beat of their own drum and rejected stereotypes about what women should be. They're aesthetic pioneers, norm benders, and often one of the only women in their field. In the early days of computing, when wires filled rooms and few imagined computers as anything but number crunchers, today's Womanican quietly made history. She created something that changed how we learn, how we play, and how we tell stories. Let's talk about Mabel Addis. Mabel Holmes was born on May 21st, 1912, in Mount Vernon, New York. Her father ran a building supply business, and her mother ran the household. From a young age, Mabel stood out as an ambitious student. She loved history and dreamed of traveling to Greece to study archaeology. But for a young woman in the early 20th century, her career ambitions were seen as impractical and expensive. Still, Mabel kept chasing knowledge. After graduating valedictorian of Brewster High School, she moved to Manhattan and enrolled at Barnard College, where she studied ancient history. Later, she earned her master's in education from Columbia's Teachers College. Mabel began her teaching career in 1935 at a rural schoolhouse in her hometown, where she taught 8 grades all in the same classroom. Mabel eventually moved south to Westchester County, where she met and married Alexander Addis. The couple had one daughter in 1945. Mabel took a brief pause from teaching to raise her. When she returned to the classroom, Mabel settled into a role at Katona Elementary in 1950. There, she became a beloved 4th-grade teacher. Mabel wrote plays for her students, curated oral histories, and even wrote a few books. By the early 1960s, rural schools were struggling. Budgets were tight, and keeping up with modern educational standards was a challenge. So the Board of Cooperative Educational Services in Westchester County teamed up with IBM. The program brought teachers together to explore how computers might be a teaching aid and enhance elementary school learning. Mabel was one of those teachers. One IBM researcher proposed building a simulation that could teach economic theory. It would be set in ancient Sumer, a Mesopotamian civilization that aligned perfectly with Mabel's passion for history. Mabel's interest was piqued, and she began thinking about how she could expand the idea. In 1964, Mabel developed and wrote the Sumerian Game, the first narrative video game. It was a text-based simulation programmed by IBM's William McKay and guided by Mabel's storytelling. In order to play, students needed the right technology, which involved some pretty extensive equipment like an IBM 7090 mainframe computer, cassette player, and a slide projector. They played as rulers of the city-state of Lagos in 3500 BCE. In Level 1, they planted crops and managed grain storage. Level 2 introduced economic diversification. By Level 3, players navigated diplomacy with other city-states and tried to expand their land. The computer, posing as your court advisor, offered updates and suggestions based on the situation at hand. It was more than a simulation. It was a story with characters, consequences, and strategy. This made it the first of its kind in a genre we now know as edutainment. In 1966, after getting feedback from her students, Mabel revised the game to include audio clips and slideshow images to enrich the story. This update is believed to be the first example of a cutscene, which is a scene shown to a player when they reach a particular point in the game. Unfortunately, the Sumerian Game was a few years ahead of its time. The IBM systems were large and expensive, and the program's funding eventually dried up. But Mabel's work sparked a ripple effect. A simplified version called King of Sumeria spread in the late 1960s. In 1973, the game was featured in the popular 101 Basic Computer Games. And its DNA can be traced to iconic games that followed, like the Oregon Trail. Mabel retired from teaching in 1976, but she didn't slow down. She traveled the world to Pompeii, the Acropolis, the ruins she once dreamed of as a girl. Back home, she joined historical societies and gave slideshow presentations and collected oral histories. Her husband, Alexander, died in 1981. She remarried in 1991, and 4 years later, her second husband passed away. Mabel died on August 13, 2004, at 92 years old. She left behind her daughter, Alexandra, who remembers her mom as a playful educator who made history come alive. Although rarely mentioned in gaming history, Mabel is considered to be the first video game writer and first female game designer. She paved the way for the elements that are now staples in our video games. Mabel saw potential in gaming, not just for entertainment, but for education, creativity, and storytelling. All month, we're talking about outsiders. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Liz Kaplan, my favorite sister and co-creator. Talk to you tomorrow.
Behind every successful business is a vision. Bringing it to life takes more than effort. It takes the right financial foundation and support. That's where Chase for Business comes in. With convenient digital tools, helpful resources, and personalized guidance, we can help your business forge ahead confidently. Learn more at chase.com/business. Chase for Business. Make more of what's yours. The Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank N.A. Member FDIC. Copyright 2025 J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
This is Jenny Garth from I Do Part 2. Can't afford Ozempic? Try Wegovy from Future Health. Just $199 and FDA approved for weight loss. No insurance or tricky syringes needed, just results. Visit futurehealth.com. That's future without the E. And start losing weight this week.
Future Health Weight Loss.
Data based on independent studies sponsored by Future Health. Future Health is not a healthcare services provider. Meds are prescribed at provider's discretion.
This is an iHeart podcast.